We now come to an aspect of the game that perhaps causes more problems than any other. I'm talking about the cue action, the actual way you strike the ball. What many people don't realise is that there's a stroke-making technique to snooker that's just as important as it is in golf. Let's have a look at the cue action and see what the main points are. I believe that the simpler the technique, the less chances of making mistakes. Now, to me, the simplest way to make sure that you deliver your cue straight is to have the arm and the cue and the shot all in one line. So that's the first point to note. Make sure your right arm is lined up with your cue. Let me show you a way you can check the alignment of your action for yourself. Put a mirror against the side of the table, put the white ball in the middle and aim to hit its reflection in the mirror. You'll be able to see if your arm's in line with the cue. And you'll also be able to tell whether or not the two cues are lined up before and after the shot. Now you might find your reflection looks something a bit like this, or perhaps the other way, tucked in. These are two common faults. Or you might find that the cue is actually running up the inside of your arm. If you then try and bend your left arm, you'll find that perhaps the cue will then be dead straight in line with your right arm. There are three positions involved in the cueing action. The first is the rest position. The second is the backswing position. And the final one is the follow-through position. Now let's look at the three stages together. The important thing to note is how little movement there is in the upper part of my arm. The elbow is acting as a kind of pivot. It's this stability that is the basis of a consistent, simple cueing action. In one way, the cueing action has a lot in common with the action used in darts. 180! So the second point is to keep your elbow in the same position throughout the stroke. How can you make sure this happens? Well, it all depends on having your arm vertical when your cue is in the rest position. Let me show you why. Watch what happens when my arm is stretched back too far. The bat end lifts up as I pull back. To compensate, I have to move my elbow, which would add another variable to the action. The same sort of thing happens if my arm is too far forward during rest position. This time, to actually hit the ball, I would have to drop my elbow. As you can see, the cue comes off the bridge. A good idea is to think of the cue as a piston and the arm below the elbow as a piston rod. What you're trying to do is to move the cue backwards and forwards along exactly the same line every time. If we look at the action again, you can see another point that's really worth noting. You'll see that my head remains absolutely steady throughout the shot. This is so crucial because any movement of the head makes the arm move as well. When I was first learning the game, my father used to stand over me with a cue held a fraction of an inch above my head. If I touched the cue, I failed the test. I think it was one of the most important lessons I ever learned. Try to get into the habit of keeping your head down until the ball's gone in the pocket. Exaggerate this until it becomes second nature. It's definitely worth it.